Imagine stepping into Ferrari with the weight of 7 world titles behind you, only to realise the biggest problem isn't the car, it's the culture. That's the reality Lewis Hamilton has walked into. His message to Maranello isn't subtle. If Ferrari doesn't reinvent itself structurally, the 2026 project could be doomed before it even reaches the track. And what he's exposing isn't just about pace or setups, it's about how the team functions at its core. According to reports from Gazzetta, Hamilton's critiques go much deeper than performance numbers. He's challenging the very backbone of Ferrari's organisation. One of his biggest complaints? Communication. Time and again this season, his input hasn't been converted into meaningful changes. For him, that failure isn't an isolated mishap, but part of a cultural resistance within Ferrari, an unwillingness to evolve. Coming from a team with such an illustrious history, that's a bold and uncomfortable charge. But Hamilton isn't the only voice in this story. The article also reveals a widening gap between him and Charles Leclerc. And this rift is more than a clash of setups. It's a philosophical divide about how the car should be developed. Ferrari initially believed that their driving styles would overlap enough to make a shared development path possible. The reality has been the opposite. Hamilton thrives with a sharper front end and leans on a stable rear. Leclerc, meanwhile, prioritizes predictability at the back and sacrifices some aggression at the front. These aren't small tweaks. They change how the entire car is designed, how feedback is processed, and how resources are allocated for 2026. Hamilton has been vocal. The problem isn't just the car, it's Ferrari's operating model. He argues the current communication framework isn't responsive enough, and vital feedback either gets diluted or ignored. His growing discontent has led him to openly question Ferrari's development pipeline. One particular sticking point is the simulator. Hamilton feels it's too rigid, limiting the scope of setup experimentation, something he's relied on throughout his career to fine-tune performance. For a driver known for extracting the smallest gains through adaptability, that limitation isn't trivial. It's a sign of a deeper structural flaw, one that could compromise the long-term project, and the timing couldn't be worse. With the 2026 car already in its early development stages, Ferrari finds itself being pulled in 2 directions. Hamilton is pushing hard for radical changes. Leclerc, on the other hand, wants continuity. Ferrari's hope that the two could align on philosophy has collapsed. What started as a technical inconvenience has become the defining obstacle to the team's future. Inside the garage, the clash has become unmistakable. Hamilton's preference for a responsive front end under braking contrasts directly with Leclerc's desire for stability at the rear. These diverging needs are shaping 2 completely different cars. Data collected from one side doesn't translate to the other, making shared development increasingly unworkable. Setup sheets are diverging, and the synergy Ferrari hoped to create between experience and youth is unraveling into 2 competing visions. This divide has grown from a technical headache into a political struggle. Every design choice for the 2026 car now carries an undercurrent of identity. Favouring Hamilton's setup biases means re-engineering around his strengths. Leaning into Leclerc's style secures continuity with the driver who's been central to Ferrari's modern rebuild. But there's no compromise that can fully serve both. That reality has transformed the development office into a battlefield of competing loyalties. Hamilton brings unmatched pedigree, years of titles, leadership in car development, and the credibility of shaping winning machines. He expects his perspective to steer Ferrari forward. Leclerc, on the other hand, isn't just another driver. He's Ferrari's long-term face, the driver who's invested years building the foundation of this team. For him, Hamilton's push for change risks tearing down what he's spent so long creating. Both arguments have merit, but only one can take priority. Of what began as a simple difference in driving preference has now grown into a strategic impasse. Every meeting, every design review carries with it the unspoken question: who defines Ferrari's future? Is it the 7-time champion with proven leadership, or the younger talent who has been Ferrari's cornerstone for years? The tension spilled into public view when Hamilton dropped hints during the Hungarian Grand Prix, suggesting there was far more going on behind the scenes than fans realised. That wasn't just a reaction to a single weekend. It was the tip of a much larger struggle for control over Ferrari's next chapter. Hamilton's remarks didn't just touch on car setups, they pointed straight at Ferrari's operating philosophy. By voicing his concerns publicly, he shifted the issue from a quiet disagreement to a full-scale strategic debate. Engineers, once confident in a unified approach, are now facing the uncomfortable truth. A single development path can't satisfy both drivers. The result? A garage that was built on collaboration now risks splitting down the middle. The consequences are serious. Every hour spent debating compromise is an hour not spent innovating. With deadlines for the 2026 Challenger already looming, Ferrari's progress is stalling. The team dreamed of harmony, but what they're facing instead is a dilemma. Stick with Charles Leclerc's proven comfort inside the existing structure, or gamble on Hamilton's push for reform and trust in his title-winning pedigree to rewrite Ferrari's trajectory. But Hamilton's demands run deeper than setups and balance sheets. This is about culture. At Mercedes, he thrived in an environment that prized open communication and rapid reactions to driver feedback. Ferrari, in contrast, is rooted in hierarchy, procedure, and tradition. That clash of systems isn't just slowing development, it's fueling a generational divide. Leclerc, molded by years inside the red machine, is fluent in its rhythm. Hamilton, arriving with a blueprint forged in dominance, is challenging those very foundations. As the 2026 project advances, these opposing forces complicate every decision. Should Ferrari double down on its heritage, keeping intact the culture Leclerc excels in, or bend toward Hamilton's vision, reshaping workflows and philosophies to accommodate him? Either choice comes with risk, alienating the past or jeopardizing the future, and inside the factory, the debate is no longer behind closed doors. Pressure is mounting on engineers to commit. Some have started adapting to Hamilton's wishes, tweaking braking maps, reworking front-end responsiveness, and loosening rigid simulator protocols. Others stand firm in defense of Leclerc's style, protecting the stability and predictability that's been built season after season. The once cohesive environment is fragmenting. Development is splitting into parallel streams, simulator work is being run in silos, and technical meetings that used to be joint are now divided. The fear isn't just producing a mismatched car, it's the fracture of Ferrari itself. For a team that hasn't won a championship in more than a decade, the risk of civil war inside Maranello could be catastrophic. The stakes couldn't be higher. Ferrari bet its 2026 future on the synergy of two elite drivers pushing together toward a shared goal. Instead, the project is being tugged in opposite directions. Every test, every simulation, every design tweak now doubles as a signal. Whose vision is carrying more weight? Ferrari has reached a defining crossroads. Do they continue down the middle, chasing neutrality with a car that tries to balance two incompatible philosophies, or do they finally choose? Back Hamilton, and Ferrari must rebuild its processes around his model, changing how feedback is handled and how decisions are made. Back Leclerc, and Ferrari preserves its foundation but risks losing the sharp insight and developmental leadership of one of F1's greatest drivers. The next few months will be decisive. Behind every technical adjustment lies the bigger question: who will Ferrari shape its identity around? Because the 2026 season won't only be a test of engineering, it will be a test of power. With Hamilton and Leclerc both pulling for control, neutrality is no longer an option. Ferrari can't steer in two directions. So what do you think? Should Ferrari bet on Hamilton's championship-winning model and embrace change, or stick with Leclerc's path and keep continuity? Drop your thoughts below. Is this simply a clash of driving styles or the beginning of a seismic power shift inside Maranello?